the 12 steps are a way we clear out the wreckage so that the power can flow through us in a very clean and pure manner. So that then it's not us that's doing it. We are simply but a channel of the love that exists before we were ever here. It's going to be here long after we're gone. But in this moment, we can be a channel for that love. The theme of my life is joy.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour, featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am Olis, an alcoholic in Oakland, California.
And I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hi, Olis.
Hey, Don. How are you?
I'm doing great. You sent me the Daily Grapevine quote.
I did, because I thought it was hilarious.
It was so good. I had gotten it earlier, and I had put it in our little file where we save really good quotes from the Grapevine. This is from the Grapevine book, Step by Step. I had a really good reason for working Step 9 and making amends to my family and friends. I didn't want a parade of people at my funeral singing, "Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead."
I just love this. I mean, the truth is that I am selfish and self-centered and self-seeking, even in my best behavior. And what better selfish reason to do the right thing than I don't want the parade?
Yeah, getting sober is selfish from that context. But it does matter to me what people think of me, and going through the process of, I mean, what is the reason that we make amends?
You know, I think we make amends in order to clear the blockages that we've created between us and our Creator. And you know, Don, I'm not sure that I ought really care what people think about me.
Yeah.
I really care that me and the power are in alignment. And sometimes when I'm doing the right thing, people don't like it.
That's true.
People don't like me for reasons that are about their illness. And so this notion of like, I got to do it because I want people to like me, man, I think that's a torturous life. But if I do it because I want to be free from the bondage of self, I want to be living in the sunlight, I think that's a good reason. And you're not living in the sunlight when the people are singing "The Wicked Witch is Dead."
No. With what you were saying right there, that's what I think with making amends is it clears out my blockage with my higher power, in that it clears out everything that I've done in the past. I've corrected to the best of my ability. Yes. And once I've done that for real, then I'm asking God to remove my character defects and live one day at a time in the present, trying to be helpful to others. If that's where my focus is, I don't have to be drugged back into my past bad behavior.
No. If the things that other people do, if the things they say, if the way that they act determine what I do, what I say, how I act, am I free? And the answer is no. I've got to be driven by my understanding of what's right, my commitment to live in alignment with God's will, not by what you do.
Or what you think of me.
When people act in ways that I think are poor, it's very hard to stay aligned because I want to join you. If you go low, I want to go all the way to hell. But that's not, I can't live like that and be happy.
To try and stand in the center, stand in the light. And if I can do that, then it doesn't matter what other people think of me because I've cleared up the wreckage of my past. And I know that one day at a time, I'm living the best that I can.
That's right.
Which gives me the freedom to act. If I know, in my soul that this is the way to go, even if other people disagree. So what I've been meditating on is, in Buddhism, it's 5 remembrances, and it's the 5th remembrance, which is that everything I have and everyone I know, I'm going to lose. This is death. This is what's going to happen. The only thing that will remain after I'm gone is the consequences of my actions.
Wow.
So my actions are what is important. And what am I bringing to the day, to the next person in every interaction?
I love that. You know, the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, when it talks about step 8 and step 9, which are written together, when we go to people and we clean up our side of the street, we're not responsible, have no control over, ought not be attached to how they respond. What we're responsible for as the Buddhist remembrance is, what are my actions? If my actions are good, then I'm not judged by people's response or reaction. It's, am I clean? Am I doing the best that I can do?
One day at a time. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Wow, we got a lot out of that. It's a joke, but there's so much in there.
I know. I thought we were going to just sing songs. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
The wicked witch is dead.
Alice, who's our guest today?
We have James O. from upstate New York near Buffalo. It turns out, as fate would have it, that James and I are connected because in AA, there are not 6 degrees of separation. There's only 1 or 2.
Particularly with you, Alice. I mean, this seems to be the case. That's almost every guest that we've ever had on the show. You've got some connection through some channel somewhere.
I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I do.
You're the most connected person I know.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. If you want a new, beautiful, amazing life that has limitless expansion and countless dividend, right? The way I think you get it is sticking with the people who are all the way in Alcoholics Anonymous. And they are connected to other people that are all the way in.
A community.
Yep.
But first, the news. Did you know there's a calendar of events on aagrapevine.org? You can see what's coming up around the world. You can also receive complimentary Grapevine Lavinia materials for your event and submit your event to be listed on the calendar. Go to aagrapevine.org and click on View Calendar at the bottom of the page.
And for all of us that are going to take advantage of this extraordinary resource, I would ask that you consider subscribing to the AA Grapevine and or our app.
What are the Grapevine's most popular books? Emotional Sobriety 1 and 2. Both are filled with experiences by sober AA members, many with long-term sobriety, about the positive transformations we can achieve by practicing the principles of the program in all aspects of our lives. The stories show how the rewards are serenity, emotional balance, and an increased joy for living. Visit aagrapevine.org/books.
I'm an alcoholic from Buffalo, New York, Area 50. My name is James O.
We love that you are here with us, James. You know what? You are not our first Buffalo guest. Buffalo. That's what you guys are.
That's right, Buffalo.
Well, I'll tell you, we have a number of really wonderful people here in Area 50 that are devoted to our fellowship and our way of life.
Yeah.
I can tell you that when Bill Wilson called the Grapevine AA's magic carpet, I really loved that. To be able to bring a meeting into the Alden Correctional Facility every Wednesday now for about maybe 4 years.
Wow.
And 2 years as Area 50 Grapevine Chair. After I was Grapevine Chair, I became Corrections Chair. But the Grapevine, people may not realize it, that it is AA's meet in print and a snapshot of exactly where Alcoholics Anonymous is.
Yeah.
James, when did you get sober?
October 18th, 1994 is my sobriety date. I'm 57 years old now. I came in when I was 26.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the High Noon Group. We meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12:15 p.m. in Amherst, New York. And I've been a member of that group since 1995.
Wow.
Yeah, thank God. It was started by my first sponsor, John, who absolutely saved my life.
How did you choose that group to be the group that you're going to go to from now on?
I was going to a 10 o'clock in the morning meeting because I was working evenings. I work in the hospitality industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to mostly morning and afternoon meetings, and John had this idea to start it at 12:15 and call it high noon. I, of course, didn't think it was going to work. I told him, this is stupid, John. There's nobody here. It's me, you, Kenny, and Bill. There's no one here to make coffee, John. You realize we don't have a coffee maker?
And I know what happened.
Guess what? I was a coffee maker. I didn't know it. Yeah. Yeah.
Every time.
And we used to read, as this is a lunchtime meeting, please keep your sharing time to 3 to 5 minutes. Anyway, if you talk any longer, you are probably lying or preaching to us. Yeah. And I made coffee at that meeting every Tuesday and Thursday for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm sober one day at a time through God's grace, and continual journeys through the 12 steps transform us into people we never knew that we could be. And even, I think, more importantly, I've been transformed into someone that I didn't know I was worthy of being.
Wow.
The man who AA is able to create a day at a time.
Well, give an example of this transformation. Give an example of who you were.
I mean, I guess I was somebody that was very possessed by money and power and property and prestige. These things drove me, Short story is, in the morning of October 18th, 1994, got shot through the back after a street fight with a crack dealer. I want it known I'm like a social crack smoker, okay?
Okay, just social.
Yeah. So, but the idea is that, one thing led to another that didn't really go as they expected it to go. And then they sent somebody back to kill me. So I had to drive myself to the hospital. And so that was a close one. And this is what led me to a place where a guy that was a room service waiter in the hotel where I worked, he picked me up and took me to my first meeting. He is still sober. His name's Ken H.
Yeah.
He called me on a Saturday night and said, there's a meeting tomorrow. I'd like to come over and pick you up. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'll be all right, but thank you anyway.
That seems kind of drastic, go to an AA meeting.
It was just shot.
I know. I blown the whole thing out of proportion. So he told me, okay, in that case, I'll see you at 10:15, and he hung up. I said, I'm not coming. So, but I don't know what time I went to bed that night, but there was someone pounding on my door, which apparently I didn't hear. But then he was actually in the driveway beeping his horn. And you know how we do that with the drapes, where you just kind of go like this,
A little peek.
Yeah. And at that moment, my brain, consumed with paranoid delusion, thought that these guys that owned the hotel where I worked maybe sent him to take me to a meeting.
You had a gunshot wound.
I did, yeah. Through and through, 9mm. And that's where I got in the car, yeah. And so we went around the corner from my house. It was literally 7 minutes from my house. We walked in, and, the old-timers would call it mocus. This term, like, where my brain was so fried that I didn't even know my brain was fried.
Mocus.
Yeah. Up here, it's a term.
Never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard it. They're talking about mental fog.
Yeah. I mean, they'd say he's mocus, meaning like brain's just fried, cooked, Mm-hmm. So he walks me into this cafeteria, and at that time, there was probably 170 people in that meeting. We had tables of 10. The entire cafeteria of this community college was filled, and he disappeared. So I'm standing in this cafeteria, and I'm like, what? It's their school today? What? Then I realized, yeah, I'm like, I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he reappeared with a half a cup of coffee, and he said, follow me. We sat in the middle, and everybody went around and introduced themselves, said, they're alcoholic. And this guy across the table, wild man, old time guy, at that time had well over 35 years of sobriety. Charlie C. looked at me with this crazy look, and he goes, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Charlie. And he said, I want you to know something. I didn't get in trouble every time I drank. And I thought, yeah, me neither. And he said, but every time I had been in real trouble. And he gave me this crazy look, and he went, a jackpot. I had been drinking. And at that moment, it was like a key went into a lock, and somehow these tumblers turned.
Yeah.
And all of this horrific reality somehow became crystal clear in that moment. We refer to that as a moment of clarity, but not just the shooting, but 3 DWIs, a couple trips through the windshield.
Yeah. None of which was your fault.
Of course not. I didn't have a drinking problem. I had occasional legal trouble,
James, the part that is so beautiful about what you've shared with us, like I've been transformed. And my transformation started when a horrible thing happened. And then I get to a meeting and a person with time helps me see the truth about myself. But I don't just stop drinking. I start figuring out what I can contribute.
Yeah, I have to tell you that happened. I'm on my third wife, thank God. My first wife and I were divorced when I had about 13 years of sobriety. I caused that. I caused that in my marriage. Attending meetings, taking people through the literature, when I felt I had the time, follow me?
Yeah.
And being very successful in my career. That led to wherein I was divorced. And then my second wife passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. On March 24th of 2015.
I'm sorry.
I'm not like trying to start a ton of organ music right on the talk, but the short story is that did happen. And
you stayed sober during that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I say of course, but I mean, there's nothing going on in my life that's so horrific that a drink can't make just a little worse. You know what I mean? I never want to forget that.
That expression right there has helped me so much in times like that.
Yeah.
If I were to drink,
it's just going to make it worse.
It's not going to fix a thing.
Yes. So I had what I knew at the time were justified resentments.
Yeah.
Well, for example, what's a justified resentment?
Right. A justified resentment would be at our local cancer treatment facility for not having my wife's paperwork right when we got there on the Monday for the treatment. Things like that. Mm-hmm. Justified resentments.
Yes.
I had him on a Yale legal pad. I met my sponsor, Chuck B. Chuck is a past delegate of Area 50. This is in 2015. And I had these things on a legal pad. I had them written down. I read the first one. I'm resentful at Amy's aunt, as she was director of nurse anesthesiology in this facility. She directed us to stay there, wherein someone told me we should have went to Johns Hopkins. Chuck looked at me and said, hold on. Because he was at my wedding. He said, now, Amy and Mary are the glamour girls. They spent all sorts of time together doing all sorts of stuff. She encouraged her niece to go to the hospital where she was affiliated. The treatment not only did not work, but was not coherent. You had to leave there to go somebody else, and now she's passed away. And I said, yeah, like, right, I'm building my case.
Yes.
Yeah, Chuck looks at me and goes, have you prayed for Mary yet? Have you thought about what she must be going through?
Oh, man.
Ooh.
And I was like,
In right out of our sale.
Right? I'm sitting there. Chuck reaches over the table, gets my sheet, crumples it up, and said, I'm not here to talk about this. I'm here to talk about Area 50. Area 50 is dark, and you're going to be the next GSR of the High Noon Group. 20 years of continuous sobriety. I said, what's a GSR? And he goes, see?
Yeah.
You're going to be the GSR of the High Noon Group, and you're going to start coming to the assembly. That was Area 50, 2015. We had at that assembly maybe 18 to 20 people. Now our assemblies are attended by 70 to 150 people. We have a number of committees, very vibrant. I was GSR, then DCM.
Tell people what GSR means and what DCM means.
A general service representative is the most important job in AA because what that person does is brings the information that is happening in Alcoholics Anonymous, in our home office in New York City, and in our area and in the districts to our home group. Brings forward these ideas so that we either vote or don't vote on them, depending on the group conscience, and then brings those ideas back to the General Service Assembly. That's what a GSR does. A DCM coordinates within the district.
The district might be your city or your county.
It can be. It depends how your area is set up. So my first job as DCM was to go to all the meetings in my district. And after DCM, then I became the Area 50 Grapevine Chair. That's when really the Grapevine really blew my mind in terms of its scope and how it got started and all of it. I learned a lot about it. And Bill Wilson said, AA's magic carpet, amazing.
Yes.
And then I became the correction chair. And that happened because nobody volunteered. There was no volunteers.
Now, what's the correction chair?
So the Area 50 correction chair would be, to the best of his ability, coordinate meetings within any correctional facility in that designated area. So my job was to get all the information, collate it, set up a list of people who had had their backgrounds checked, which I know for AA's sometimes
Difficult.
got,
We have backgrounds.
yeah. We got some people, and we bring some meetings into some various facilities. I've been incarcerated a few times. I've never done time, but I've done a little time, and so I've been in the orange jumpsuit, and so I take a meeting now into Alden every Wednesday, and there's miracles that happen. One man at the meeting said, my story's not over. This showed me that I still got ink left in my pen, and I could start writing a different story.
Yeah.
That's what he said, and that guy is still sober.
The thing about work outside the group level is that the people in your group have already found their way to Alcoholics Anonymous. But there are people in hospitals and institutions and prisons and holding facilities. And to be able to take the message to them, not just wait at the home group for them to show up for us.
Right.
Powerful.
Yeah, because I think it was Billy N. And he said the purpose of a home group is so that it is able to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous into the community it serves. That's a paradigm shifting perception.
Mm-hmm.
You mean it's not the place where I go there, I have a cup of coffee, run my mouth for 5 minutes, and everybody else runs their mouth, and then we feel some sense of relief and we go home and we're not drinking? No, that's the opposite of a purpose of AA. Sitting in a meeting thinking, I know exactly what this guy is going to say. I've been coming to this meeting for 7 years. There's a universe outside of our home group waiting to be explored. Yeah. No, and it was never meant to be all there is or all there was.
This is the same kind of thing that your sponsor, when you were bringing those resentments, turned your head around from all these people are doing things to me. I'm not getting anything out of this, and turning it around to I need to give.
Yeah. What he realized in our later discussions was that not only is there no such thing as a justified resentment, that has the potential to actually kill me. I feel like I can hook onto a justified resentment that can alter the trajectory of my life and kill me. And the fact is, which is even deeper than this idea, I was in an abyss of grief. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that suffering transmuted is our story. Yeah. Alcoholics Anonymous, suffering transmuted.
Yeah. Victims don't recover.
Yeah.
That's right.
Whether it really happened or not, right? The book calls it real or fancied. And what is recovery? When I put aside my grievances with the world and turn myself to what is it that I can do to be useful? That's what the beauty is.
I think our culture now is very subsumed with this idea of, what am I thinking and how am I feeling? That's irrelevant. I have an illness that centers in my mind, and my emotions change like the weather. Not because we're alcoholic, because we're human.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter how I feel or what I'm thinking. Only relevant is what am I going to do?
This is right where we started, James. At the beginning in the banter, my good friend Don said, I'm thinking about this Buddhist principle. What would you call it, Don?
Remembrance.
Right. The remembrance that all things are temporary. I'm going to lose everything. The only thing that lives on is the consequence of my behavior. That you took an area or a district that was dark and turned it into something vibrant that lives on beyond us. Yeah. That action is the gift that we give to people who'll never know us.
Well, and this is where we realize when Bill and Bob, that thing where you can go and watch Bill Wilson, and it always hits me when he said he was talking to Dr. Bob and he uses the words, and something passed between us.
Yeah.
It's this moment that the Holy Spirit present here lets us know that, one, we're not alone. Two, there's something we can do about this if we stick together and try to give it away to somebody else. That's happening right now in this meeting. It happens in every meeting. And it can happen with a lady in the grocery store who's not alcoholic.
That's right.
She just might need a hand with her groceries.
James, this has been fantastic getting to know you.
Loveliness.
Wow. Ditto, you guys. Very nice meeting both of you.
The Grapevine and Lavinia apps are now available for both iOS and Android phones.
To get yours, go to the App Store on your phone and search for AA Grapevine or Lavinia.
Blast from the past. And now we have a 7-minute clip from Bill W.'s talk in Fort Worth, Texas, 1945. Bill talks about the origin of the General Service Office and how AA spread.
Now then, when we first realized in Dr. Bob's living room one autumn afternoon in 1937 that enough time had elapsed on enough cases to make it plain as can be that a new light had entered our dark world of alcoholism, this same question came up again. Only this time it came up with relation to AA as a whole. Up to this time, sure, we've been hiring meat places. Up to this time, sure, we've been dropping money in hats. Up to this time, we've had committees in the group. But how was this message going to be carried to the millions who didn't know without its just getting garbled all to pieces? So we have a meet. At that time, we thought all this was going to take a lot of money, somebody else's money preferably, from a non-alcoholic. We thought that we'd have to subsidize a lot of old-timers and plant them around in various places. We thought that we'd probably have to get some financing for a string of drunk tanks or hospitals, which in turn would make more money, which would hire more missionaries. But we knew we'd also have to have a book. Also, when this thing got publicity someday, the minute it did, and the news got over the country that alcoholics could really get well, there would be any number of eager and frantic people who would say, but how? But where? To whom shall I turn? Where shall I write? Who can I call? So it became obvious, way back there in 1937, that certain things would have to be done for AA as a whole. Just as the individual did them for the next individual, just as groups did it for the group in the community, just as the area later began to function, so would AA have to function as whole and provide services for the benefit not only of us here, but primarily for the benefit of those who haven't got here yet. So in 1938, some friends who had been very much interested in us got together and formed this so-called foundation. Nothing but an incorporated committee, a few drunks, New York, Akron, and some people in New York, most of them friends of Mr. Rockefeller. That's the story I'll come up with tonight, how we didn't get money from Mr. Rockefeller. But at any rate, we have a board of trustees. By this time we have a book, and now, sure enough, the publicity starts. The first one was Alcoholics and God, Liberty Magazine. Instantly that was published, inquiries began pouring into Liberty Magazine. I think 800 or 900 of them, just like that, from all over the country. Where do I find it? Who do I get in touch with? Now, supposing that we hadn't had any foundation, and we hadn't had any literature, and we hadn't had any office, what would those poor frantic people have done? If we kept AA so damn simple, and we hadn't been willing to spend any money, and nobody had been willing to take any service responsibility, maybe some people right in this audience wouldn't be alive. You only need to go a generation or two back to go back to Alcoholics and God and the 800 inquiries that we wrote to and sent pamphlets to way back there in books sometime back in 1939. Well, as I said, Mr. Rockefeller got interested. He didn't give us money, but he gave us a big dinner to tell the world that this was good. And boy, that story got on the United Press wires, the AP wires. It went around the world like lightning. Mr. Rockefeller and his friends say Alcoholics Anonymous is good. Another terrific flood of inquiries. Where did they come? To Fort Worth, Texas. No, we didn't have any group here. Where would they have gone if we hadn't thought to provide a service so that AA could function as a whole? Inquiries come in. We write all those people. And then in 1941 comes the big payoff. The Saturday Post, through Jack Alexander, does a featured piece for us. And thousands of inquiries for us. And our office is absolutely swamped. Now, up to this time, we've been running the office entirely on the proceeds of the sale of the book. Little Ruthie Hott and one typist and me. We three people, all of a sudden, and a board of trustees that met sometimes, commiserating that we didn't have any money. So three people get 7,000 inquiries. Well, at about that time, we said, well, after all, what we're doing here is for the benefit of everybody. And these inquiries come from all over the world, principally North America. So why shouldn't we go out to you people and say, look, are we going to throw these inquiries in the wastebasket because we can't hire the help to answer them all? We did get some volunteers, but you know how they languish. They got tired. What are we going to do? Book money won't do it. Everybody's broke. They ain't giving us any money in that foundation. That's still empty. Where are we going to get it? So we came to you. And in that time, you consisted of a couple of thousand people in just a few groups. And we said to you, look, will you help us answer these inquiries? Well, how much would we ask you to send in? Well, we didn't like to write out and tell each group how much they ought to pay up. We knew drunks better than that. So we said, well, look, if each group now in existence would send us voluntarily the equivalent of $1 a member a year, we could answer these inquiries. What do you do? That money plus some book money would do it. So you people began to contribute. And that's how the $1 a year got started, to maintain that office, which at first, as I say, principally focused on answering all these inquiries and then getting in touch with traveling men and salesmen going around the country, giving them lists of these people in these towns that could be visited. Those who couldn't be visited, we set up a correspondence with. And that is how AA began to spread wholesale. Not because AA was functioning in Akron or New York City or Cleveland. It was because AA was functioning as a whole that that was possible.
I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo. When the panhandler collapsed on the street, a crowd gathered and began offering suggestions.
Give the poor man a drink of whiskey.
A little old lady said. Give him air, advised several men.
Give him a drink of whiskey.
Repeated the little old lady. Get him to a hospital, someone suggested.
Give him a drink of whiskey.
The little old lady said again. Slowly, the victim sat up.
Will you all shut up and listen to the little old lady?
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.